In April 2024, a single-engine plane vanished from radar over the dense Bolivian Amazon. It wasn't a major airline or a dramatic explosion, just a small flight with 5 ordinary people aboard, including a child, quietly swallowed by the jungle. For over a day and a half, no one knew where they were or if they had survived. But when rescuers finally arrived, they found something no one expected. The passengers had spent 36 hours stranded on top of the wreckage, surrounded by alligators, cut off from the world, knee-deep in swamp water, and with predators circling just feet away. Their survival wasn't just a matter of luck. It was a test of instinct, calm, and faith. What happened during those hours reveals more than just a crash. It's a story about fear, resilience, and how far people can go to protect one another when everything else is stripped away. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go! Luis Alvarez had been flying regional routes across Bolivia for over a decade. At 48, he was the kind of pilot passengers trusted, calm, experienced, with a quiet voice and a habit of checking every system twice. That morning, he greeted his small group like always. 3 women headed to a family gathering and a 7-year-old girl holding her mother's hand, clutching a small backpack with snacks. The flight was short, just over an hour, and Luis expected to be home by dinner. The aircraft, a sturdy Cessna, had made this trip dozens of times without issue. As the plane lifted gently into the sky, the passengers relaxed, chatting about everyday things. Relatives they'd see, meals they'd share. No one could have guessed that within an hour, they'd be clinging to that same plane in the middle of a swamp, wondering if help would ever come. Roughly 35 minutes into the flight, something felt off. Luis noticed the engine wasn't responding the way it should. A subtle vibration ran through the controls, not violent but unfamiliar. He tapped the gauges, hoping it was just a faulty reading. Then came the sound no pilot wants to hear. A sputter, followed by silence. The engine had quit. The cabin grew quiet as the passengers looked around, confused but unaware of the seriousness. Luis stayed calm, running through emergency protocols in his head, scanning the landscape below. Jungle, endless green, and patches of dark, glossy water. He tried to restart the engine once, twice, nothing. The altitude was dropping. Still, he didn't panic. There was no time for fear, only options. He spotted a clearing, though it looked wet. Swampy, not ideal, but it was the only shot they had. He turned the plane toward it, hoping it would hold. The landing was rough but controlled. The plane slid across a shallow patch of swamp, finally lurching to a stop with its nose dipped slightly into muddy water. Everyone was shaken, but no one was seriously hurt. Luis did a quick check, bruises, cuts, but no major injuries. Relief washed over him until he opened the cabin door. The water around them was dark, with tall grasses swaying gently, and something moving just beneath the surface. At first, it was easy to believe it was just fish, but then a thick, scaly tail broke the waterline for a moment. Then another. Alligators. More than one. They were circling the wreckage. Luis closed the door quietly. He didn't want to scare the others just yet. They had no radio, no signal, and the only dry surface for miles was the roof of the plane. He knew this was only the beginning. As hours passed, the initial shock faded, replaced by a growing awareness of their predicament. Luis climbed carefully onto the plane's roof, the only dry refuge above the murky swamp. From this vantage point, he could see the vast expanse of water dotted with thick vegetation and the slow, deliberate movements of alligators beneath. The radio was dead. No calls for help had gone through. The others looked to him with a mix of hope and fear. It was then Luis spotted something unexpected. A faint trail through the swamp, a narrow path likely created by local wildlife or humans. It sparked a glimmer of possibility. A way out, or at least a sign that help might be nearby. Determined, Luis promised to keep watch and stay alert. For the first time, the family realized survival depended not just on waiting, but on their courage and resourcefulness. As the hours stretched into the night, Luis's unease grew heavier. The swamp's eerie sounds, croaks, splashes, and distant rustling, became a haunting soundtrack to their ordeal. He overheard one of the women quietly mention that this area was known for its aggressive caimans, relatives of alligators, who rarely left their territory once disturbed. Panic fluttered beneath the surface, but Luis swallowed it down. He knew that fear could freeze them all. The limited food and water supplies were running low, and the sun's fading light was a cruel reminder that rescue might not come soon. He felt the full weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. These lives were in his hands now. Despite the fear, Luis forced himself to think clearly, knowing that any misstep could cost them dearly in this unforgiving wilderness. By the second day, exhaustion was setting in. The relentless heat of the swamp by day and the chilling cold at night sapped their strength. The alligators circled ever closer, their eyes gleaming just beneath the water's surface. Luis faced a painful choice: stay put and hope for a rescue that might never come, or risk a dangerous trek through the swamp where every step could mean an encounter with predators or hidden pitfalls. The youngest passenger, the little girl, was growing weaker, and the women's anxiety was mounting. Luis's heart pounded as he weighed the risks. Staying meant possible rescue but slow starvation and exposure. Moving meant immediate danger but a chance at survival. There was no clear answer, only uncertainty. As night fell on the second day, a sudden storm rolled in, turning the swamp into a churning mess of wind and rain. The fragile plain roof where they had taken refuge became slippery and unstable. In the chaos, the little girl slipped and nearly fell into the water, sending a wave of panic through the group. Luis grabbed her just in time, but the scare left everyone shaken and vulnerable. The alligators grew bolder in the storm, their movements more erratic and closer than before. It seemed as if nature itself was against them. Yet amid the darkness and fear, Luis noticed a faint light flickering in the distance, perhaps a search party or a nearby village. It was the smallest spark, but enough to reignite hope and fuel their will to survive another day. As dawn broke on the third day, the faint light Luis had seen turned out to be the headlights of a rescue team navigating the swamp on boats. Guided by a local villager familiar with the treacherous terrain, they found the stranded group just as hope was thinning. Luis felt a wave of relief wash over him as the rescuers helped them off the plane's roof and onto solid ground. The ordeal had tested their limits, physically, emotionally, and mentally, but it had also revealed the strength of their spirit. Luis realized that survival was not just about skill or luck, it was about staying calm, trusting one another, and never giving up even when the odds seemed impossible. Their story would soon be told far beyond the Amazon, a testament to resilience in the face of nature's harshest trials. After returning home, Luis found himself changed in ways he hadn't expected. The routine flights he once took for granted now felt fragile, each journey a reminder of how quickly life can shift. He became more attentive to the small moments, family dinners, quiet mornings, and simple conversations. Yet, the memory of those 36 hours in the swamp lingered, a silent question echoing in his mind: how much do we truly control in our lives, and when must we simply trust the unknown? Luis didn't have all the answers, but he knew one thing: survival wasn't just about escaping danger, but about finding strength in uncertainty. What would you do if your world suddenly tipped off balance? Would you find courage or fall apart? Share your story below.